I see you servants out here trying to flex with your fancy divine backgrounds. I'm unimpressed. Allow me to show you how true talent really looks. Atalanta, we are in rare form. Starting off with FGO, we know that Atalanta has shown a wide range of combat expertise, beating the father of Achilles in a wrestling match. Her tactical movements allowed her to shoot Spartacus, use her hands to gouge open his neck with that same arrow, and continue to nearly rip his head off with brute strength alone. She used his own sword against him to pin him down after stealing it from him. She casually crushed an entire stone wall just from punching it with her bare fist. In FGO, she had Jason pleading for his life by nearly choking him to death, and she was just messing around. The novel tells us that Spartacus might as well be motionless when you compare him to the way that Atalanta was moving in their battle. She's quick on her feet, dodging an entire sweep from Spartacus, then turning around and answering to Vlad's phantasmal stakes back to back. She was still outperforming Spartacus even when his phantasm was giving him greater strength and greater speed than he had before. The story tells us straight up that her movements are frightening, dodging 3 of Chiron's arrows, which we know can leave craters in the ground. She is stated to be one of the fastest spirits in Greek myth period. Even if Fran boosted herself with her phantasm, she couldn't hope to close the gap between them. In a conversation with Joan, Atalanta had disappeared so fast that it would have gave the impression that she went into spirit form. Atalanta herself believes that she wouldn't even lose to Achilles in terms of speed. This is insane because Achilles is literally speed incarnate. We know that she was skilled enough to outmaneuver Astolfo's hippogriff, which is literally stated to be faster than her. Once again, the story tells us that Achilles is one of the only few people with speed that can equal hers when it comes to Apocrypha. It also has Chiron looking down bad. He does not want that smoke when it comes to movement. He later admits to this in the FGO, flat out saying in a foot race he couldn't beat either of them. In the Dead Heat summer event, you had Atalanta say vehicles, those are for bozos. She caught up to Nitocris and Shahrazad just by running, and they were in cars. In Apocrypha, we know that she jumped an impossible distance from the Hanging Gardens to a jumbo jet. It's said that her release time when firing arrows can be compared to a machine gun. In her fight against Spartacus, she shot him 4 times at once, piercing him in multiple places in an instant. Her draw and release time is said to be at least equivalent with Achilles' thrust. She tanked an attack from Spartacus that rivaled being hit by a cannonball. She tanked being slammed by Joan's flagpole and immediately got right back up. We know that she can reject the possession of low-level spirits. In her case, she just chose not to. Her main phantasm, Tauropolos, is a divine bow that was gifted to her by Artemis. The bow is stated to be bigger than her in size, making it nearly 6 feet long. From her fight against Joan, we know that she can manipulate her arrows with magical energy. She was casually releasing arrows that were faster than Mach speed. Her shots alone were pulverizing the ground between Joan and Spartacus. Just using a light shot, she was able to blow off a golem's arm. Again, these golems are at least 1 ton in terms of weight. Her tactful sharpshooting allowed her to stop Vlad in his tracks and shoot him down when he tried to scale the wall. She straight up sniped Jack the Ripper's master straight through the chest and took her life on top of that. In FGO, we know that she shot our ship all the way from an island, which was a great distance. Just looking from the panels, you can tell that this was literal miles away. It tells us that just her arrows were hitting harder than Drake's phantasmal cannonballs. It took Medea Lily and Hector just to stop them. She sniped Joan from a great distance, which required Chiron to intervene and deflect the arrow. She can actually push her phantasm beyond its limit, raising it past A rank just so she can pierce through Siegfried's defense. This same arrow has been shown tossing Siegfried across the entire forest. It's said that this could wound Karna, who had the highest defense in the war. Due to her background, she has the nimbleness of a wild animal, being able to tread across terrain with ease. She tactfully dodged a reinforced Frankenstein and avoided her by jumping across the treetops. She dodged one of Vlad's stakes at moment's notice and wrapped herself around it to use it to her advantage. In her fight against Spartacus, she tactfully ran up his arm, kept her balance, and kept shooting. Her accuracy is higher than average, being able to snipe Siegfried with nearly no visible invisibility through a forest from miles away. You had the story tell us that her talent reaches into the realm of the gods. You had Kyron mention how she's more experienced at setting traps than him, lending a hand for a bounded field. There's the time where she told Francis Drake that she'll fight close range despite her being an archer. She has a conservative mindset when it comes to battle, and she will abandon a fight if she realizes that there's nothing to gain. There is the grand spectacle, her phantasm, Phoebus Catastrophe, where she draws upon the help from the deities Artemis and Apollo to bring down the arrow storm of doom. We saw her use this to obliterate countless golems and homunculi. We further find that she can concentrate these arrows to one location, using this to shred Spartacus to pieces, nearly taking his life. Then of course you have her pelt, where she can take on the powers of the Caledonian boar at will. This was the magical beast sent by Artemis in her myth. If she uses this in her archer form, she basically turns into a berserker, gaining power at the expense of her sanity. From FGO, we do know that she can remove the pelt at will, though it's unlikely she'll do so since she won't be in the same state of mind. On top of the ridiculous increase to her power, she still has access to her arrows, nearly knocking Joan off the plane and then following up by preparing her release. In one of her later fights, we saw her casually lift 2 stone pillars against Joan with no problem. She ripped straight through the body of the demon god Fornius, who is known to have a high amount of defense. She straight up sliced Medea Lily in half, taking her life on top of that. You had the time where she skillfully snuck behind the pillar where Joan was hiding. She was out here hanging with the wounded Achilles, who again is one of the best servants, period. She had enough strength to tackle Joan off of the plane all the way into the hanging gardens of Babylon. Her durability is insane. She literally tore off her own wing to escape Joan pinning her down. If she's summoned in her berserker form, she is one of the few spirits that can maintain her calmness. In Lost Belt 1, you have Mass mention how she can take on an entire army on her own. With access to her pelt form, she grows wings, gaining the ability to fly. Using this, she was able to fly all the way to the hanging gardens of Babylon in FGO. Even the boar head that you see on Atalanta's shoulder can deal damage, grabbing Joan's flagpole by the mouth. In this form, she has heightened senses, being able to smell better than the Yaga species in Lost Belt 1. Her Teropolos phantasm boasted a power so great that it forced Joan to use her phantasm for defense. In her fight against Achilles, she was casually chopping through stone pillars with her arrows, sometimes multiple at once. There's the phantasm of her altar form, which embodies her barrage as one strike, needing a high level magic resistance to stop it. I think it's more than fair to say that Atalanta has proven herself among the greats. She has talents that reach into the realm of the gods. She has a berserker form on speed dial, and even though her upper limit is only above average, she can still push herself further to get better results than that. She's not walking out of here with any less than a B rank, and if you try to say that she doesn't deserve it, I will call you a liar. Get your head in the game, man. What is this?